The fast-moving locomotive that is government's push toward an I.C.J. referendum on April 10th has been stopped in its tracks. This afternoon inside the courtroom of Chief Justice Kenneth Benjamin, a decision was handed down, effectively halting the scheduled holding of the national vote next Wednesday. The interim injunction remains in effect until an appeal is heard before or after the said date. Those papers were signed by Attorney General Michael Perfeet immediately following the upsetting outcome. Senior Counsel Eamon Courtenay, who represents the People's United Party, gave a synopsis of what transpired in court today.
What has happened just now is that the Chief Justice has found that there is an arguable case that the procedure under which the referendum has been launched by the government may be irregular. We are satisfied that we have more than a good argument to make on it, and as a result of his concern as to the propriety of the referendum process, he has issued an injunction restraining the holding of the referendum on Wednesday.
Party leader John Briceño shared with us an initial reaction to the ruling of the Supreme Court.
But certainly I don't think it is time to gloat. I mean, we're standing up for the Belizean people. But I want to make three basic points. One is about legality, certainty, and respect. Legality, that we've been saying from the beginning that this whole, the process that the UDP has taken is illegal. Secondly, that there must be certainty in what we are doing. This is something that can have a direct effect or impact on the future of this country. And we have been very clear that we are always going to stand up for Belize. And thirdly, about respect. The Prime Minister and the UDP government need to understand that they need to respect us in the opposition when we're saying that you must come to the House and have an open and full debate. What is it that the Prime Minister is afraid of? Is he afraid that he would not be able to control his representative?
According to Courtenay, there are 4 means under the existing law, including matters of national importance, through which a referendum can be held. He says that government has purposely shied away from taking the matter to the House of Representatives.
The first issue is, under the Referendum Act, you can have a referendum on 4 bases. The first is a resolution of the National Assembly that says there is a matter of national importance and there should be a referendum on that. The government went under Section 2(1)(d), which provides that if there is a proposed settlement, that settlement be put to the people for their approval or their rejection. And I pointed out to the Chief Justice in arguments that there is no proposed settlement. And for there to be a settlement, you need to know the terms, and nobody knows the terms. So the CJ looked at that and said, no, hold on, there is no proposed settlement. So what is it that the people are voting on? They're voting on a dispute resolution mechanism going to the I.C.J. Well, that is not provided for in the Referendum Act under Section 2(1)(d). What the Prime Minister has been running away from is exactly what the claimants have been demanding. If the Prime Minister wants to have this referendum lawfully, he should move the resolution, first of all, under Section 2(1)(a). But that requires a debate in the House of Representatives, and that resolution has to be passed. And it is quite obvious that he's afraid of it, and the reason he's afraid of it is because there are members in his House who are not going to come up publicly in the National Assembly and vote in support of what he wants to do.
Attorney General Michael Perfeet, who was on hand for the ruling, also weighed in on the outcome. He endorsed the appeal forms immediately following the decision and is anticipating a response from the appellate jurisdiction. The granting of an interim injunction, he says, is disappointing.
Well, I usually don't have reactions to court rulings, especially since we plan on appealing the decision. So I don't want to comment on the details of it until the matter has been completed and the process been, drawn to its conclusion in the courts.
Were you at all prepared for such an outcome today?
Absolutely. I've already signed the appeal forms, and those will go in no later than tomorrow morning, and hopefully we can get a hearing before the Court of Appeal before April 10.
Sir, what do you make of the fact that now that this injunction is in place, it could take months or years before an actual referendum takes place, since this case has to go to completion first?
Well, then the People's United Party would have to explain that to the people. They decided to challenge the holding of the referendum on April 10. If it gets delayed because of this years and years to come, then that's a question for the PUP.
Attorney Lisa Shoman explains the basis on which the CJ granted the injunction as well as the indefinite timeline for a referendum to be held in light of this latest development.
The only point on which the claimants have succeeded and on which an injunction has been granted is the question of whether the writs are valid. So that is going to be a rather technical view of looking at the writs to see if they square up and they're in order. And if the court says they square up and in order, we are having a referendum. The only issue is, of course, when that referendum will be. Now, understand what the claimants may have succeeded in is getting a postponement, but not more than that, because this is something that we are asking for two things at this point. Applying to the court for a variation, and we've indicated that the variation would be, since nobody knows whether it's yes or no, let's go ahead with our referendum on April 10th, but the Chief Elections Officer wouldn't certify the results unless we've already looked at the validity of those writs, because it's a technical point. And people should, in a democracy like ours, exercise their right to yes or no.
But that has been described as a strange proposal to make in lieu of the outcome.
Strange, but I understand why Mr. Courtenay feels compelled to say it is strange. What is strange to me is the notion that somehow the will of the people should be held back.
Reporting for News 5, I am Isani Cayetano.